So Hayden Birdsong had essentially went 2 weeks without making any type of appearance at the major league level. His last appearance prior to today was against the Athletics up in Sacramento. Kind of a shaky outing, but ultimately did put the Giants in position to win. I think despite the 4 or 5 walks, whatever it might have been, he did manage to get through 5 innings. Again, put the Giants in a position to win. The Giants end up winning that game. They skipped over his start during the Dodgers series, so you combine them skipping over his start along with the All-Star break, and you get 2 weeks without him making an appearance. And the hope with Birdsong was that that time would provide him with the means of figuring out some of the command issues that have really pestered him in recent starts. We talked about how good his command had been for the majority of the season, but really since his outing against the Miami Marlins just has been unable to consistently command, has been walking either 4 or 5 batters on any given day. And so that was the question coming into today's outing is, given the time off, given some of the struggles that he has had with command in recent outings, how was Birdsong going to respond? Was he going to figure out a way to get back to the form that he exhibited earlier in the season, or was it going to be a bit of a rough outing, a bit of more of the same? And what essentially we got was it would not be hyperbole to say this is the nadir of the current stretch that Birdsong is currently navigating, as well as the stretch that the Giants are currently navigating, as the Giants lose to the Atlanta Braves 9-5 here on Monday night at Truist Park. Birdsong faced 6 batters tonight, and he didn't record a single out before his outing was over. His outing starts with a jerks. Profar was actually able to get into a 3-2 count before he throws a slider in the dirt, walks Profar, first batter of the game. And then from there, he pretty much loses the entirety of the strike zone. He walks, I believe it's Matt Olson on 4 pitches. He walks Ronald Acuna Jr. on 4 pitches, one of those pitches being up and in, kind of grazing or almost grazing Acuna. Allows a 3-run double to Drake Baldwin. Follows that up with a 5-pitch walk to Ozzie Albies, and then he hits Sean Murphy, and that ends his outing right there. Again, 6 batters, no outs. There have been 33 instances since the year 2000, I believe either 8 or 9 in Giants history, of a starting pitcher facing at least 6 batters and failing to record a single out. It was actually done earlier in this year by the Arizona Diamondbacks' Brandon Pfaadt. The last Giant to do it wasn't too long ago. It was Zach Littell in 2021, and the Giants still ended up winning that game thanks to a late grand slam, go-ahead grand slam by Mike Yastrzemski, and that obviously was not the case tonight. And with Birdsong not recording a single out, effectively providing nothing as far as length in this game, the Giants had to go to pretty much an impromptu bullpen game, and how that looked was Matt Gage pitched 2 scoreless innings after inheriting bases loaded in the bottom of the first. I think from there, Spencer Bivens pitched an inning and 2/3. Tristan Beck, after pitching 4 1/3 innings on Friday, pitched an inning and a third. Ryan Walker pitched the 6th and the 7th, and then Camilo Doval pitched the 8th inning, his first opportunity to pitch in the second half. And given how much the bullpen was used during the Toronto series, it wouldn't be all that shocking if the Giants had to call up a fresh arm just to make sure that they have enough relievers available to cover the entirety or the rest of the Atlanta series before the off day on Thursday. The last 4 outings that Birdsong has had have just been especially odd, considering how he started the season. Now, going back to spring training, the one point that we did make is that for Birdsong, the main issue, the primary thing was going to be the command. But at least as far as the start of the season, he had a lot more improved command. If you kind of look at the first month or 2 months and a half of the season, I have the actual numbers in the story, but I think the number is something like he only walked 20 batters over his first 52 2/3 innings of play, whereas compared to his last 13 innings, he's walked 17 batters. So as far as how he improves his command going forward, what he needs to do going forward, whether he does that with the major league level going forward, that's all pretty much to be determined at this point. This is not me saying that he's definitively going to be optioned or they're going to move him to the bullpen, but It feels like this would be a conversation that the Giants brass is going to have, and this is kind of a byproduct of the Rafael Devers trade in that the Giants can't go to a Kyle Harrison now. They can't just go to a Jordan Hicks now, and if you kind of look at some of the options that they have in the organization, there isn't someone that really jumps out as being available. Keaton Wynn is currently managing or rehabbing from the shoulder injury. Earlier in the season, he had an outing of 1 inning with AAA Sacramento, but until recently, he hadn't pitched until, I believe, April 3rd. Carson Wisenhunt, as we've mentioned previously, the last 2 months have been pretty rough on his end, so not really an immediate option. So, again, it is going to be kind of wait and see what exactly they're going to do with Birdsong, how exactly they go about managing this, how exactly they go about trying to get his command back that he had early in the season. But despite Birdsong kind of being the main thing from tonight's game, it was just overall not a great game that was played by the Giants, because even after Birdsong's departure and even after the Giants were trailing 5-1 after the first inning, they still had their opportunities in this game. They still had their opportunities with runners in scoring position, but this is a game where they finish 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position. And the other element of it is that they just played a very uncrisp baseball game defensively. They did have 2 errors, one of them being from Matt Gage, the other being from Elliot Ramos as he was throwing a ball in from the outfield, goes over the glove of Willy Adames, and it ends up being an error. It allows a runner to take an additional base. But there was also a pair of miscues as well that allowed the Braves to score additional runs. In the top of the 6th, there was a really weird one where Drake Baldwin hits a fly ball to left center field. It looks like a ball that Jung-Hoo Lee should call off Elliot Ramos, but ends up where he's kind of like diving for the ball in front of him because he doesn't take command of the ball. But the one that drew Bob Melvin's ire was when Ronald Acuna Jr. scored from first base on a single up the middle, and he called it, a case of miscommunication. And, it's one of those plays where they do expect Acuna to be very aggressive on the bases to try to score from first base, even though Atlanta's third base coach was clearly holding him up. And to kind of get into that play, Jung-Hoo Lee kind of doesn't have a super ton of urgency with the throw in, and Melvin says as well that, Casey Schmidt is still learning the position. That's a spot where he has to be more vocal. Matt Chapman was kind of screaming to get the ball in faster. And it was just one of those plays where on a night like tonight, especially given how the entirety of this game went, it was just, the way that Melvin said it was just a bad look overall. And we spoke to Willy Adames as well. Adames did turn in the first 4-hit game of his tenure as a Giant. His WRC plus is actually over 100 for the first time, I believe, for the first time when ending a game this season. 100, of course, means he is league average, and I don't want to spoil the comments in the video. Go check out the story about what Adames said. But the one thing that especially stuck out is that Adames said in the first half, this team was a grinding type of team, and that was really evidenced in the fact that they had a lot of comeback wins. It was over 20 comeback wins in the first half. You would see this team trailing by 2, 3, even 4 runs and still manage to find a way to fight themselves back into a ball game, whereas over these first 4 couple games in the second half, as well as the 2 games to kind of end the first half, that energy hasn't been there. And Adames went on to say that the way that the Giants get back into being that grindy type of baseball team is to do kind of simple things, is to play hard every day, take good at-bats, run the bases hard, things of that nature. And over the course of the last 4 games, and even, again, going back to the last couple games of the first half, these are just the things that the Giants, who are now 52-49 on the season, just haven't been doing.